Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. Katarina is away tonight. Here's what's making news right now.
I'm personally proud of my local union. I'm proud of Dave. I'm proud of him putting forward his agenda and trying to win the delegates' hearts and minds on his particular issue.
It definitely is an ambitious project. So there's lots of effects and green screen and blood effects and things like that, and zombies.
Because it's a mix of vampire and zombie. It's just fun to bring those two together.
Thanks for joining us. The largest private sector union in Canada has a new president. Lana Payne becomes the first woman to hold the top job at Unifor, and she beat out Dave Cassidy, head of the Unifor Local 444 here in Windsor.
You have my commitment to lead with all of you, side by side, arm in arm.
Payne was the National Secretary Treasurer for the union. She was also the Atlantic Regional Director at Unifor and President of the Newfoundland and Labrador Federation of Labor. Payne replaces Jerry Dias. He stepped down in March and was later charged with violating Unifor's Code of Ethics for taking kickbacks. Dias had been president since 2013. Now, Unifor has more than 315,000 members, and it represents workers in a wide range of industries, including manufacturing, aviation, energy, and telecom. Here in Windsor, thousands of auto workers are represented by Unifor, some coming off the morning shift at the minivan assembly plant. We're just learning about the new leadership change. The CBC's Jacob Barker caught up with some of them, and he joins us live now with more. So, Jacob, what did workers have to say about this change at the top?
Well, Jason, they were disappointed for the most part that Local 444 President Dave Cassidy did not win his bid, but they are rallying behind the new leadership in any case. There have been some tumultuous times at the assembly plant over the past few years. Stellantis most recently offering up retirement packages to older members and removing one of the shifts from the plant. This all taking place as they shift towards electric vehicles and as Stellantis, in a joint venture, is building a new battery plant in the city. I asked workers what kind of issues Payne should make a priority.
I'm leaving at the end of the month. I'm retiring, so I just hope they do better for Windsor, because we really need the jobs in this town. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I really think the future investments of these plants are important to us. The workforce getting back to 3 shifts, and a little bit of stability. I think it's been a rocky road the last couple of years with COVID and now part shortages. So a little bit of stability, a little bit of just calm the waters. I think everybody will get back into the groove again.
Actually, I just want to push for security for the people that aren't leaving, aren't retiring. I'll probably be retiring, but for the people in here, we need to make sure that we keep the shifts going. Try to not get down to 1 shift, try to keep 2 and 3 shifts in the plant at all times. That's a major thing, keeps a lot of jobs here.
So, Jacob, it has been a bumpy road for Unifor since this campaign really kicked off, seeing as its former president stepped down amid some controversy. So how was that addressed today?
One assembly worker told me they're more focused on building the minivans here as opposed to what's happening with the union executives. But it was Payne who initiated an external investigation into former national president Jerry Dias. He stepped down from the job earlier this year after accusations that he took money in exchange for recommending a rapid COVID-19 test kit to Unifor employees. I spoke with a former national president about how members were approaching that issue at the conference.
You can't run from it. You could sense the tenseness on the floor. You could sense people appreciating Jerry's contribution to the union, at the same time not accepting the end of his career in terms of the allegations in front of him. So you could see that tenseness. Some people want to acknowledge Jerry, quite frankly, for the work that he did, the good work that he did. And then other people want to say it's inexcusable, quite frankly, of what he did.
Now, I have reached out to Cassidy for his reaction on the outcome. I have not heard back, but he did post his congratulations to the Unifor Twitter account.
Okay, thanks so much, Jacob. The CBC's Jacob Barker reporting live in studio tonight. The province's ombudsman is threatening to launch another investigation into police de-escalation training. Ontario's ombudsman released his annual report today and says progress has been painfully slow on a new use of force model for police forces and de-escalation when dealing with people in crisis. Lorenda Redekop has more on that and other areas his office is already looking into further.
It's been 9 years since a Toronto police officer fired repeatedly on Sammy Yatim inside a streetcar in mental distress, holding a knife. 6 years since the Ombudsman came out with 22 recommendations following that tragedy.
If we have to do another investigation, we will. So it's something that we're contemplating. There has been some progress, but it's so slow. And what I find a little bit frustrating is that, what I said in 2016 is the time for study and consultation is over.
But he says governments continued to consult. First, it was the Liberals, then the PCs. The former Solicitor General says there has been progress.
So there was a lot of work and training, particularly with new recruits and ongoing training with police services. I'm sure that work will continue.
The Solicitor General's office says all officers do de-escalation and use of force training with annual firearms training. But the Ombudsman says some forces are further ahead and wants to see mandatory province-wide standards for de-escalation.
The government has moved at a glacial pace. This government has had 4 years to act. There are regulations that are just sitting unsigned.
The Solicitor General's office says it will work with the Ombudsman to address any concerns. He's already further investigating 2 other areas highlighted in his annual report today. One is the province's handling of nursing homes in the pandemic, looking at the ministries of long-term care and health.
We've reviewed millions of documents. The disclosure on this one was massive, and the team has worked tremendously hard. They were the first people to start coming back into the office because there was so much to deal with.
He's also looking into issues with the Landlord and Tenant Board.
Not fair!
That board resulted in almost 1,000 complaints to his office over the past year from both sides.
We're hearing some really horrible tales of hardship. In these cases, some people facing eviction that could result in homelessness, and on the landlord's side, some of them are facing financial ruin because they're lacking revenue.
Those reports are expected later this year. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Erie Shores HealthCare in Leamington is sitting at 122% capacity, and they're reporting an increase in COVID cases taking up needed beds in the hospital. Just 2 days ago, Erie Shores wasn't treating any COVID patients. Now they say there are 5 people in hospital with the virus, and 4 of them are primarily there being treated for COVID. The spike in patients meant 12 people in the emergency department were waiting for a bed this morning. Officials are asking people to seek treatment elsewhere if possible, and if they do need to attend Erie Shores, to treat the workers with respect and patience as they are tired and dealing with short staffing levels. Healthcare workers are among those reacting strongly to the throne speech from Ontario's progressive Conservative government. While yesterday's speech does mention healthcare and admits more can be done, critics say it lacks specific plans to address the strain on the system.
There is so much more to do, and we can set priorities. We can take a long-term strategy. It's a complex issue that needs dialogue. We've spoken with the health ministers as saying we're ready to work with you. So we firmly believe in working together. We're not here to bash anyone. We're saying let's work together.
Windsor's mayor has been given a provincial position to help tackle housing affordability in Ontario. Drew Dilkins will be chair of the Housing Supply Action Plan implementation team and says he hopes to make a meaningful difference for anyone struggling to own a home. The province has also introduced legislation that would give mayors in Toronto and Ottawa more power to get housing built quicker. The CBC's Ali Chiasson has more from Toronto.
Ontarians are counting on someone who can take the responsibility to get things done.
Today we heard more about the province's motivation behind its proposed legislation that would give 2 big city mayors more power over their own council.
Over 1/3 of the growth over the next decade will come in the cities of Toronto and Ottawa. Our government needs to support efficient local decision-making to speed up development timelines.
Basically, we want you to cut through red tape and fast-track things like housing and transit projects.
Well, at least the way I think the premier is thinking about it is that there's going to be a disentanglement of all the bureaucracy and all of the rigmarole that goes into making a council decision.
Toronto municipal lawyer John Mascarin can't picture it as quite the quick fix the province is hoping for.
The council itself can come back depending on how it's structured, and I think they were proposing a 2/3 vote, so a supermajority vote. And if council is given that authority, what if they then come back and say, no, we're going to veto that? Well, how does that speed up anything? In fact, that seems to create a bigger quagmire.
Ottawa's mayor condemns the idea as being anti-democratic and doesn't see the municipal process as broken, so why fix it?
Well, it's certainly nothing the City of Ottawa or myself asked for.
Meanwhile, Toronto Mayor John Tory says he'll review the legislation now that it's been submitted and that he's always supportive of making sure City Hall is, quote, working more efficiently and effectively for Toronto. City Councillor Gord Perks, on the other hand,
I just don't see it providing any real benefit to Torontonians.
He questions the province's motivation.
The real worry here is that your local voice, your local representative, will have less and less impact on your quality of life. Increasingly, the city will be run just out of the mayor's office.
The legislation would also give the mayors the responsibility for preparing and tabling their city's budget instead of council, appoint their city manager, give them the power to hire and fire department heads, excluding statutory appointments such as an auditor general, police chief, or fire chief. It also gives them the power to veto bylaw decisions. If passed, the legislation would take effect in the beginning of the next council term, after the municipal election in November. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
And at Queen's Park today, Health Minister Sylvia Jones didn't rule out privatization in healthcare as the government grapples with major staff shortages in Ontario hospitals.
To be clear, there's not more privatization coming.
I'm saying that all options are on the table. I'm saying that there is innovation and opportunities here in Ontario, and we will explore those.
So that's a maybe.
That's an innovation is, for me, a very important piece of how we can improve the system.
Jones didn't specify what changes might be in store for Ontario's healthcare system, but said the government is studying other Canadian jurisdictions. Ontario NDP interim leader Peter Tabuns said moves toward privatization would be a disaster for Ontarians. Tabuns took aim at the government, blaming the healthcare crisis on underfunding and cuts by the Conservative government. Back here in Windsor, mayoral candidate Chris Holt is proposing to partner with community stakeholders to rejuvenate the Windsor Arena. Holt says if elected mayor of the city, he would partner with a nonprofit entity to make it a flexible community hub. He also envisions it as being a part of a Black cultural and historic district. However, Holt says he doesn't know how much this would cost. He expects those details would come out of a community consultation process. The barn has been sitting idle since 2008.
It would be the proud home of the Windsor Express professional basketball team, but it would also be able to adapt and morph into a wide-ranging community space. Groups like the YMCA could run camps and day programs from it. It would be available to local artists and musicians for exhibitions, events, and concerts, and be accessible to schools for graduations and convocations. By reclaiming the corridor's prominence and pivotal role in Windsor's history, we hope to rejuvenate not only this corner, but this entire neighborhood in the core.
The U.S. government is now allowing healthcare providers to give patients just a fraction of the standard dose of the monkeypox vaccine. The U.S. declared monkeypox a public health emergency just last week, and the new dosing guidelines were established yesterday in response to a vaccine shortage. The CBC's Natasha Fatah has more.
The availability and distribution of monkeypox vaccines.
Today, Johns Hopkins experts gathered together to talk about the monkeypox outbreak, and high on the agenda was the vaccine supply and distribution. Professor William Moss from the Bloomberg School of Public Health said right now the United States has about 1.1 million doses, but several experts say the United States needs at least 3.5 million doses. Moss says several authorities have made mistakes in assessing the demand, plus there have been delays in both requesting and producing the vaccines.
We expect the next delivery of about 500,000 doses to happen in October. And then not until next year are we really expecting a large supply of vaccine, over 5 million doses. Now, there certainly have been missteps along the way. At one point, the US government had about 20 million doses of the Jynneos vaccines, but those vaccines expired.
Which brings up the issue of what to do with the supply that the U.S. does have, particularly in light of the U.S. emergency declaration allowing the FDA to authorize fractionated interdermal dosing of vaccines. Essentially, that means injecting 1/5 of a full dose just below the surface of the skin, rather than a full dose or subcutaneously into the fat below the skin.
It will be given with a very tiny needle into the skin, into the little skin itself. The way we used to do a skin test for tuberculosis, a little bubble will be raised on the forearm of our arms, and that's where the vaccine will be inoculated. That little bit in the skin will stimulate the same kind of immunity that a larger amount given through the skin.
This kind of dosing has been used in the past, both for polio and for yellow fever, and it has proven to be effective. It's not a perfect solution, but it is a way of making sure the limited supply of vaccines in the United States gets stretched and hopefully to reduce further spread of monkeypox. Natasha Fata, CBC News, Toronto.
The next time you're roaming around Windsor, Essex, you may see some vampires or zombies, but don't be alarmed. It's part of a local feature film being made here called Vampires, Zombies from Space. Set in the 1950s, the horror comedy is being shot all over Essex County and will be filming here for the rest of the month. The CBC's Mike Evans visited the set to talk to filmmakers, makeup artists, and special effects wizards.
And action.
It definitely is an ambitious project. So there's lots of effects and green screen, blood effects and things like that, and zombies, right? It's definitely been a task to kind of keep things, on track. And it's all about organization and so far so good.
This guy here, I made at home. It's a silicone prosthetic that's encapsulated with a plastic, just so it's easier to paint. So I'm just gluing it on her face. These could be a little tricky because of how many zombies we have and our time restraints. A lot of these are kind of supposed to be one size fits all, so it's a little bit of adjusting.
At what point in your life did you realize, you know what, I think I'm going to go into the movie makeup business? Was there a film that you watched?
I've loved it since I was a kid. But yeah, I just feel like as I grew up and added my own makeup got heavier, I got into applying it to others. And my love of monsters just mixed in, and here we are.
Right now, I am working on the under muscle of what's going to be a ripped open face. So I'm building sort of with cotton and latex. I'm building up layers of what will be the muscle. We're gonna peel this piece off, have it sitting on the side, throw all the red, gory blood colors on it. When the actress is ready, we're gonna pull her down, cover the bottom of her face in liquid latex, peel it back open, then we get to glue the actual teeth muscle bit inside of that, and it's gonna look like her face is blown open like a banana peel. A lot of extras, a lot of zombies everywhere, a lot of madness and bites and death everywhere, and so we're going through a lot of blood.
Still to come as we inch closer to the weekend, it's a bit of a mixed bag of weather. We'll have all of those details for you right after the break. And Matt Hamill joins us for a look at weather. Now, Matt, I have to say, last night was the first night in a little while where I was able to crack the windows open and actually shut the AC off. It's quite nice.
I think it'll be like that for the next few nights. Yes, some more comfortable conditions, lots of sunny skies as well. But yes, not so hot and not so humid, and we can enjoy that over the next few days. And it's all because of the national pattern we're seeing that's really bringing all the heat to the west and a little bit of cooler conditions into more eastern parts of Canada. And again, it's all thanks to this upper level trough, bringing some of the more fresh air and slightly below seasonal, the kind of weather you can crack that window open at night, get some fresh air coming in. Now, as we look ahead to later in August, that will switch and we will see those hotter conditions, above seasonal temperatures work their way back into the fold. Now, for tomorrow, we're looking at beautiful conditions around southwestern Ontario, a seasonal 27 for Windsor, some other communities kind of more on brand with that slightly below seasonal trend. As we look ahead for tomorrow, the nice conditions, fairly sunny skies, a little bit windy as well, so do expect some winds for your Thursday. Friday, those do come right back down, so just a short-lived, a little bit breezy, not overly windy. Looking ahead to Friday, not so windy as we just discussed, lots of sunshine around southwestern Ontario and a little bit below seasonal for Windsor, 25 degrees, so not too bad, not too humid either. As we look ahead to the 7-day forecast, we're seeing things very nice over the next few days, a little bit below seasonal. Now, as far as precipitation goes, we are looking ahead to Sunday where we do have that 40% chance of some rain, maybe a few millimeters. Monday, some lingering showers. Tuesday, Wednesday, back to those sunny conditions. Now, we do have quite a bit happening in the night sky over the next few days. The Perseid meteor shower, which is peaking on Friday and Saturday. You can still head out tonight and get a good look. Fairly clear conditions, but for tonight, let's look ahead to tomorrow night. Very clear skies, but then we also have that full sturgeon supermoon, which is actually going to be serving to block out some of the meteor shower if we can kind of get a sense of that. So that is how we're looking. Some below seasonal temperatures warming up towards the end of August.
All right, we'll have to keep our eye on the sky. Thanks so much, Matt.
You got it.
Coming up next, we'll take you to a diving competition in the Bahamas. Stay with us. The competition is called Vertical Blue, and it attracts divers from right around the world. Many of them have gathered in the Bahamas to test their limits. And a competitor from France has done just that by breaking his own world record for the deepest dive. The 26-year-old descended 120 meters underwater, and that's almost 394 feet. Some young children have embarked on a historic journey. They're cycling across Canada, and they're doing it without leaving their hometown in PEI. Sheehan Desjardins explains.
This might look like a typical island bike ride, but these kids have some big plans.
We're trying to bike across Canada. I never biked across Canada before.
Their journey started this summer. The kids are all between the ages of 6 and 10 and go to Dreams Unlimited Child Care Center. They're cycling hard every day, trying to make that goal reality.
Every single day, we bike somewheres, and then we add it up as a group. And then we put it on a little piece of paper. At the end of the summer, we're gonna see how much we have, and we never give up.
So far, they've biked a combined
4,426 kilometers!
Or from Summerside to somewhere around Winnipeg. They've been keeping track on this map. Leader Ken Trenholm says at the beginning he wasn't sure how this was all gonna go, but the kids are doing better than he expected.
Don't forget that smile, guys.
The other day, they cycled 30 kilometers from Summerside to Kensington and back with a little ice cream for motivation.
Every experience builds upon itself, and one small step, and in this case, one small pedal stroke, can build to anything. I really hope that they can really do anything with their bodies.
There are important things to remember when you're biking across the country. For starters, the right equipment, and also the right mindset.
I keep doing it because all my friends are there, and I don't give up.
Now it's full speed ahead down the Summerside Boardwalk. And the next stop, Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. Sheehan Desjardins, CBC News, Summerside.
That's it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Thanks so much for watching. The Rick Mercer Report is coming up next. Have a great night.